Good morning, it is May 4th, 2017, and today is a bit of a late start. It is 10 a.m. currently. It's rainy outside. It's a little gloomy. Today is my last day to finish my client work, and I have so much to do, and I was like, I'm gonna get up early and work on it, and I didn't. So, yep. So I'll be working late tonight. I'll probably some tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm flying to San Francisco, so crunch time. I really don't have time for this, but I'm doing it because here we are. So probably won't do. I'll probably do one tomorrow, but then I'll probably be out over the weekend through the early next week, possibly, as I'll be traveling. We'll see. I'll bring my camera. We'll see. I'm flying Spirit Airlines, so you have to pay for carry-ons and checked bags because it's like mega cheap. So if the camera gets cut, sorry. We'll see. It's all very small though, because that was the plan for when we were traveling. Anyway, yeah. So a couple things. Someone asked me on Twitter if I use. I'll read the quote so we can have some accuracy here. Happy Star Wars Day, by the way. May the 4th, right? Yeah, 4th. Replies. Nick asks, do you use MVVM RxSwift? Have you ever gone that route? So, let's talk about that. So if you're not familiar with that, it's a programming term. If you're not into programming, then listen if you like the sound of my voice. I'll explain it though. I'll explain it. That was condescending and I apologize. But I'm not going to edit that out because it's a second channel. Alright, so yeah, that made me sound like a jerk. What the heck? Alright. My mic fell off. Oh, second channel. Alrighty. Let's do this. So, MVVM means, okay, so there's a thing called MVC, which is Model View Controller, and this is a really common pattern, and some frameworks like really enforce this, and some just sort of loosely encourage it. So, for example, in Ruby on Rails, or just Rails, as anyone would say, it's like, don't say San Fran, it's that sort of thing. Like, you just say Rails, you don't say Ruby on Rails. Anyway, yes, so they like really enforce splitting things up, so you have to have your model separate from your controller, separate from your views. And actually, like, crossing those lines is like really difficult on purpose because it makes cleaner code. If your model doesn't know about your view, then like that's a really good thing. So when I say model, I mean like your data layer. So for example, in like a to-do list, we'll use a to-do list as an example. You'd have a model for like a task, and that just has like its text and was created and like, you know, that sort of stuff, and can read and write itself to the database. You have your controller that would like retrieve those tasks and then give them to a view, and a view would like present them, you know, as either, you know, HTML to a browser or JSON to an API or whatever. So that's that separation. You can't have your like model know anything about your view. It's like completely, can't do that in Rails. On iOS, there's not clear lines. The system frameworks kind of have things structured in this way, but you can kind of like do whatever you want, which I think a lot of beginners have trouble with, knowing like where to draw those lines themselves, or even knowing this is a thing, because you know, unless you have like either experience or like have gone to school for computer science, there's no way to know about this, because it's not really documented. Like, do it this way. Which is why there's like other approaches on iOS, and it's cool that people can do whatever they want. But I think this is hard getting started. Anyway, so yes, so MVVM means having view models. Depending on who you ask, you may or may not have controllers at all. I think everyone I've ever talked to that uses view models does use controllers. And just saying MVVM is a weird, like, whatever. You still have controllers, most likely. So having a view model is something that takes a model and transforms it into something that's presentable by a view. So say, for example, you have like a user model that has like a first and last name, and then you have like any username, for example. This is good. So you have a username and then an optional first and last name. So they may or may not have a first and last name filled in, but they have to have a username. And you want to have like a hi and then like a greeting on the website or the app or whatever. And you'd say, so you want to say like hi, first name if they have it, or hi, like username if they have that. And you want to do that, check. And you want to use this in a couple places. Possibly, ignore that part, I guess, to keep it simple. So you want to use that one spot. You have a view model that takes a user and has like a greeting property that does that logic there. And then in the view, you would just say like greeting, and it uses the view model's logic to figure out things. So say you could even like give it a couple, like here's like the parent of this model and here's like some other information, and then given that view model you can now have the view like just show like simple things. So the idea is to make your views like as dumb as possible and to move all your logic into view models, because you can test your view models really easily because it's just like data instead of like UI, which is cool because testing UI sucks. No one does that really. So yeah, I think in that sense view models are great when they're actually useful and if you're going to like test them. So for example, in my current project, the previous developer has some view models, and some of them like do a lot of stuff, and basically like everything in the view controller delegates to the view model to do anything. And in that case, it kind of defeats the purpose in my opinion, because it's not flexible at all. It's just only using one spot, and you're just like encapsulating some stuff in a way that's not really useful. And not to pick on him specifically or anything, and maybe I'm misunderstanding that particular, getting excited, that particular piece of code. Just like in general, that's, I shouldn't have referenced them anyway. Like, in general, if your view model is only used in one spot and everything in your view controller just delegates directly to your view model, you're probably doing it wrong. But for example, at Venmo, we use view models. Today, 2 years ago, I started Venmo, funny enough. And I only stayed there for 3 months, in case you missed that. So, but we had a view model for like a cell in the timeline. So like in Venmo, you can like pay people, and then in the feed, it shows like Sam paid John or whatever, and some details. And all of that, those cells are really complicated because there's a whole bunch of different like permutations of that cell based on like permissions and who you're friends with, and if you did it or if you received it, or like, it's really complicated, just due to business requirements. So having that, like a property, like you basically give it a payment like model, and then, or a transaction or whatever it was called, and then your view model can have a property for like shows the price or not, and you can like, you know, or shows the amount, and you can you know, do that logic in the view really easily, and those are used all over the place because anywhere you'd show a payment, you'd initialize one of these like view models and then use that view model to power whatever view. So like, if it looked different in different places, it's fine, you just have different views consume the same view model. And then that was unit tested like crazy because doing payment stuff right is important. So I think that's a really great use of view models. Personally, I don't use them very often, because I rarely have really complicated view logic around data. Usually it's all very straightforward because I try to model my data in a very straightforward way. Or for example, that greeting thing, I just have an extension on the model that would return that, and I can use it everywhere, not just in views. So I'll tend to, if I'm working by myself, go that route quite a bit. In some past client projects, we had really crazy data because of other requirements. So getting just what we needed on screen was really complicated. And in that case, view models make a lot of sense. So I think reach for them if you need them, and if you don't need them, it's fine. Don't go like overboard and try to, I think people that try to do MVVM for everything get it wrong a lot of times and just make it harder for themselves. Especially if you're not reusing or you're not testing it, then there's really no point in doing it a lot of times. So take that for what it's worth. Regarding RxSwift, that's based on Rx Java, I think was the first one. There's a bunch of Rx and then whatever language. It's like a reactive thing with like promises, is my understanding. I haven't used it I haven't used RxSwift at all personally. I've used other reactive things like reactive Cocoa and whatnot briefly. And personally, I hate this model of programming. Just prepare for a rant, I guess. I'll keep it short. So the thought with promises is you'd say like, or signals, however you want to talk about them. You'd say like, for example, make this request to the server and you have like a result that gets returned right away. And then you can do something with that. You can say like dot success and then like give it a block, or, you know, chain that into something else, and you can build up like, I want to make these like several interrelated network requests, and then if all of those succeed, then do something, or if any of them fail, like show an error and like stop. Or for like describing that sort of workflow, they work really well. But I've seen a lot of things like, for example, in Venmo, we had a thing that would just like animate this certain view based on a scroll view in another, like in its parent somewhere, to just like track your finger as you're scrolling. And there was like a signal that would like broadcast like the scroll view's offset, and then this other thing would like subscribe to it and do all this stuff to just like move this one thing. And it's like, we could just like make a property and set it on this thing directly, which would be way easier, because that's what we're doing just with all this roundabout. So I think learning this concept is really difficult. Learning how to do reactive programming is like not the way you would think about it if you're like, unless you've learned that first, I guess, but it's a very different way of thinking. So bringing new people into the team that have never done that makes it very difficult for them to like get up to speed, which I think is a huge negative for it. And also, once you learn this skill and you're proud of yourself for learning it, you want to use it everywhere. Which, especially like in that particular case, like I just want to forward a property, or I want to forward a variable from one thing to another thing, and I have a strong reference between them anyway. Like I'll just tell the thing directly instead of like this whole roundabout of signals. So that's what I don't like about like signals and promises and whatever. I mean, it's all the same. I mean, as far as like thinking about it. So, yeah, not a fan. I know I've seen some stuff in JavaScript. I don't like JavaScript at all, but I've seen some stuff in JavaScript regarding like async await and that sort of stuff, which looks awesome. I know C# has some really neat async stuff, and that to me looks like a way better way to do this than like the way reactive Cocoa style code looks. Because especially like if you have a bunch of reactive stuff in a view, you'll have like hundreds of lines in your view to load to like set up all of this like reactive stuff, and then it all just like runs. Which I think having all that code in one spot is like not great, because you end up like huge messy stuff that's really hard to read. And then if anything goes wrong, it's really hard to debug because there's not like good stack traces. It's just kind of like all magic in their reactive internals. So, not a fan. Personally, if a client like, hey, we want you to work on this app, we had a developer before, if I were to look at the code and see reactive Cocoa everywhere or RxSwift, I would say no thank you, I don't want to work on it. Not because I'm not capable. I could definitely like get in there and figure it out, although it would take me some time, as I'm not super experienced with it, because I've like tried it, no thanks, I'll not do it, you know, I haven't like worked up to it, but not a fan of the idea. Not because I like wouldn't want to learn it or take the time to learn it, it's just like debugging anything would be so difficult unless you're the person that wrote it, because it's all like crazy magic. I don't know, not a fan. So anyway, this has been very long. Hopefully that answers your question about MVVM and reactive stuff. yeah, I have so much work to do. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, have a good day. If you want, you can subscribe to my other channel. I have a bunch of cool video ideas I want to do, like good ones, not just like talking unedited. I have one maybe I'll edit it on Friday on the plane, on my motorcycle trip to Atlanta through the Smokies. Very cool. So you can subscribe there if you want. It's this one. Man, now I made so much work for myself, I'm just gonna put it over there. It's the one not in an orange jacket. Maybe I won't put it over it. Ah, now I'm committed. This sucks. Then the orange jacket one this is hard. Over here is my second channel. You can subscribe to that if you want. That's these videos. I've done it every day so far since I started, so that's cool. Or since, whatever. I've done it every day for a couple days in a row now. And then, yeah, there's some videos over here you can watch if you want to. YouTube. I'll let YouTube pick one, and one's my drone getting hit by a car. I think that one's cool. So, that's that. If you want to subscribe, that'd be cool. If not, no big deal. If I get enough subscribers on my second channel, I can actually like make a name, so it's not like huge jumbled letters. I can have like /PersonalSam on YouTube, which would be cool. So, that's my only subscriber goal. Yeah. Anyway, have a good day. Talk to you later.